Of course, you're Skate. You've been a reviewer for ages, and before that, as a gamer and playing at a higher advanced level. Could you introduce yourself as an aimer and content creator?
Okay. All right. My name is Skate. I've been a gamer, aimer, as well as a content creator for the last few years. Thank you again, Mighty, for having me on today.
What is your past history with FPS games or games in general?
I started out like years and years and years ago, back with Fortnite, back when it first came out, and that's where I first got into the scene. Played that for a couple of years, and then it started expanding into other games such as CS:GO, and then Rainbow Six. And Rainbow Six is really when my like I guess experience as well as like a career with gaming kind of took off. I just played casually for a couple years, and then back in 2019, 2020, played very competitively, had a ton of fun during online school, and then from there it kind of transitioned into just kind of doing anything, more specifically stuff with aiming. And then within the last 2 years, I've gotten into peripherals much.
When you were in your early years of high school, you drew a following and respect for your skills in FPS games. Um, Hold up. My English. I typed this at 2 a.m. last night. I don't think this is proper grammar.
You're
Hold up.
good, man. You're good, dude. I'm so jealous of the beast. I'm waiting for mine to come in still.
Yours hasn't come yet?
I when did I text sent it out like
Oh, he's probably
literally
waiting for you to get back from college. Makes sense.
literally the 23rd.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, when you were in your early years of high school, you drew a following and respect for your skills in FPS games as your skills improved. How do you feel like this impacted you? How do you feel like this impacted your view on gaming in your later years of high school and then possibly into college at that time?
um, it kind of made me. I don't want to say deprioritize school by any means, but it kind of made me realize like this hobby that I have, this thing that a lot of people kind of see as a waste of time, could be turned into sort of a, I guess, a side business where it's possible to monetize things. And at the time, I was also just having fun. So between school, sports, I was rowing full time. I was probably rowing for about like 45, 50 hours a week on top of school. So I was incredibly busy, and like the few hours a week I had, I would put that into gaming or like product reviews. So it really kind of made me see like, wow, there is a way to kind of monetize this hobby of mine, and it kind of made it more worthwhile putting that time and energy into pursuing. Because there was a very long time where, especially in high school, there was a good like year and a half where I just didn't touch like a computer really. Um, and at the time, that's what was necessary. But I definitely think that gaining a following and kind of seeing like, hey, this is I don't want to say working out, but there's a slight potential here. It was exciting to see as just kind of a fun sort of side project.
As like you said, you were putting a lot of time into rowing. Did you feel like once you were getting that following and gaining those skills, did you want to put more time into gaming than other activities, or did you like the percentage split that you were doing at that time?
Um, that's a hard question. I think it sort of depends because at the time my life was so busy, and this was, oh man, this was literally just 2.5, 3 years ago, when everything was kind of at its peak. So if I had to put it in like percentages, it was quite literally maybe 5% into gaming and other things, and then it was maybe like 80% school, and that last like 15%, or sorry, 80% rowing, and that last like 15% was school. So I was incredibly busy, and I think if I had to do it over again, honestly, might kind of draw back a little bit from, I think, rowing a little bit. But at the time, it was just so beneficial to me. Um, and I was still doing all these side projects with rowing when it came to photography as well as videography, whether that was for my school or for the like club rowing I was on, or all these other things. And so that kind of helped play into like the later stages of like product photography and things like that. And what I kind of did last summer, which was just strictly like client work. Um, if I had to go back and do it again, I think I would prioritize gaming a little bit more, but with the sense of developing certain skills, as well as, maybe communication, or, again, more videography and like creation. Like, I, I don't think I would strictly stick to gaming, if that makes sense. I would try and branch off and grow. Uh, develop skills and take them somewhere else, because at the end of the day, uh, you know, as a person, what do you bring to the table? So, totally, if I could go back, I wish I could kind of develop some more of those skills, because now they have kind of built my entire career. And I would have loved to spend a little bit more time and effort building a foundation all those years ago, rather than having to kind of almost play catch up to the projects that I'm working on now.
You said you learned skills or wanted to learn skills in doing gaming, in doing stuff around gaming, such as videography and photos. How do you feel like you would have been able to or can implement that into your current life or current lifestyle, or see that as being a career?
Um, when it comes to those skills, I think it's really key, because I think at my core, I'm a very like entrepreneurial person. I'm currently like building, trying to build a company and an app with a couple buddies from college. But all of these skills that I have learned from starting out with rowing, with just taking photos of the team and like these stupid fun videos, and then taking those skills that I learned, how to work a camera, how to edit, and all these other things, and then implementing it into like gaming and editing there, and then content creation as well with views. And then now that kind of took me to where I was last summer and where I am right now, where I'm doing professionals, like semi-professional photography as well as videography. It's all started out with just going to a Cars and Coffee, and I just met a ton of people in my area who have these expensive, like crazy cars. And at the time, I didn't really have a video camera, but I had my parents' old VHS. So what I would do is I would take photos on this really nice camera, but then I would take videos on this super old camcorder. And these old like boomers with these fancy cars loved it. And so that kind of started out my career last summer. And then it kind of scaled into other things of like professional portraits being done, whether that's, like headshots for business people, or for like doing background photos of weddings. Like that was definitely one really lucrative thing that I did, was being sort of an aide and like background guy at weddings, and just taking photos of things going on, because people really love these like candid photos. And so that's kind of where I would say I've been able to implement the skills that I learned throughout the years, especially with like conversation.
If someone does want to go into this side of production, where taking photos more professionally than just either peripherals or stuff they find out in their neighborhood, what do you think is like the best way to start going down that path?
um there's two main things that I would suggest to someone. It's uh trying to it kind of goes hand in hand, but trying to find some sort of niche, for what you can produce and what you can give to other people. Again, when you're talking about like deliverables and all these other things, especially for like photography with clients, you want to find your niche. So for me, that was going to the Cars and Coffee, just starting out taking photos casually, and then my niche was bringing out this VHS camera, which like a ton of people thought was super super cool. Then I would say once you've kind of found something that you're good at, you've found a type of deliverable that you can kind of build a style and like a personal brand around, then you're going to want to try and build some sort of network. So I got super, super lucky. It all kind of stems back to this cars and coffee. But I just met like three key people that just introduced me to everyone else. I met the person who ran the cars and coffee. And so she was just able to introduce me to everyone that I've like ever needed. I got super, super lucky. But it's just the basic skills of finding out where that niche is, um, and then kind of building a network surrounding that. Um, but then beyond that, I think as a person, and as a creator, as a professional, and all these other things, you have to be able to sell yourself. You have to sell your style, your deliverables, and you kind of have to sell yourself as a person, because you're with like photography and videography. There are times where you're going up to random people, random companies, and you have to convince them to pay you. And oftentimes, it's not in their budget, in terms of like what they have planned out. Like it's more spontaneous. And so you have to be able to just say, hey, what I can deliver what I can deliver to you is going to be beneficial for you, and it'll help, maybe drive more customers, or you can use these photos in marketing. I spent a very long time doing like free photos for like these like small local places like gyms, and all these photos are like on websites now. And I didn't get paid a dime, but I just built these connections and these networks that are super, super key. And developing these small, more like salesperson skills has been really helpful when looking at my more professional career and my education as a finance and accounting major.
Shifting topics, did you see yourself pursuing a professional or semi-professional path for gaming into young adulthood or college? And what challenges or struggles did you face when making that decision?
Yeah, there was a good, like back when I was playing R6, there was totally a time where I saw myself playing at a minimum semi-professionally. However, I just don't think it was ever in the cards for me. Um, I never saw it as being essentially profitable enough to make a strong, like livable income, especially within like the R6 scene. Um, it was kind of like easier, I want to say, to get to those, top like tiers of competitive. But when it came to having some sort of consistent job, um, I don't know, I feel like you had to have content creation as well as being a professional player. And I didn't see myself kind of going that far. But there was a time where there was a glimpse of hope, but I always kind of saw myself going down a more, I guess, like traditional path where, I just ended up going to college and going into some sort of like profitable career.
In college, before you decided to drop gaming fully, did you see there being a world where you would be able to split your time for college studies and overall social life and still playing games at a high level?
Um, Not really. Uh, and this is kind of specific to me, but I think it can also apply to other people. It's just, I think once you get to college, unless you're making like, above minimum wage, I think for gaming or content creation, like there's almost like little to no point, I think, in uh pursuing it. And for a lot of people it can be, I guess, a little disappointing. But in my experience, like I went to college for this like club in mind. Like I was very focused and like driven. I had everything planned out, and I still do. And like gaming just didn't really fit into that. And so, um, and also like time wise, it's just not worth giving up, I think, the social life and the opportunities that can present themselves in college. I think there's a time and place for everything. And, I would almost say if you think you have such a large potential within gaming, or content creation or all these other things, I totally suggest taking a gap year because, in my opinion, they're not too, I guess, negative when it comes to maybe some of the opportunity cost because you are still, the idea is you still have the opportunity to go to college, but you're just taking a gap year to maybe pursue something else. And you know, if this opportunity pans out and you're successful from it, great, continue to pursue that. But I think, again, using the word opportunity cost, I think you lose too much to pursue gaming in college. I just don't think it's worth it, to pursue things at a high level. I think if you can, find a way to bring in maybe content creation into college, uh, and you're able to still balance out academics as well as, content creation and, being profitable from it, I think it's totally worth it. But at the end of the day, I think it just kind of comes down to where your priorities lie, and also, what you think is going to be best for you. Because I know, like, at the end of college, and once I have a sort of professional career within finance or maybe photography, I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I I think at the end of the day, gaming will still be there for me. I'll still be able to play at a high level. I have no doubt about it. But I just think I'm in a time of my life where, like, I don't have the time to kind of dedicate to that.
Was there external pressure from your parents or friends to conform to a version of yourself or go down a path you didn't feel right for you while you were playing games at a high level?
Yeah, I think I kind of mentioned it earlier, but when I was talking about R6 and all that stuff, it was, in the back of my mind, I always kind of had this, I guess, like, traditional conformity plan outline for my life. Ever since I started high school, like, I've had everything planned out, and gaming didn't really fit into that plan. And I think if there had been other influences from different people, like, maybe if I had the influence and the connections from gaming that I do now, back when I was a freshman in high school, totally would have gone a different path. I totally would have spent a little bit more time on content creation and, trying to build something from that, and then actually doing what you're doing and building some sort of product. I really wanted to do that. Last year when I was a senior in high school, I had all the free time in the world, um, and I really wanted to build some sort of product, but the pressure of just kind of preparing for college and, like, college, and kind of sticking to this plan that I've had set up for myself and has been set up for me by other people, having that there kind of, uh it didn't really make me want to pursue, I guess, like, a non-traditional life trajectory.
From your point of view, I can tell that traditional means go to college, find a good, well paying job. Was there any other form of income that you saw yourself making later into life in your 30s, 40s, 50s than sticking with that traditional plan?
Yeah, totally. I think there's two, maybe three ideas where I kind of see myself diverging from the, like, I guess, traditional plan that I have
Yeah.
myself on. I think the first one, which is, kind of obvious, is photography and videography. I've been very fortunate to have had a lot of client jobs last summer, and at the time I still had this part-time job, and the idea of the part-time job was just to, like, afford gas to drive to the client meetings and to do all these things, or to lose money on, various shoots and work for free to, build connections, do a favor, whatever. But at the same time, I got paid a lot from these client projects. Like, I was very fortunate from that cars and coffee to have met some incredibly kind and yet wealthy people. And the reality is, like, where I live, very saturated. And so, like, uh, financially wise, and so I totally see myself going down some sort of photography route in the future. Otherwise, I kind of see myself um, going the more entrepreneurial route where I build some sort of business and I'm beyond photography and more so of the project that I'm currently working on in college. Um, I totally see myself, yeah, building something. I don't know what that looks like, but I feel like I'm fairly creative and have the drive to, want to create something. But where, where that creation and what area, what niche that creation is going to come out of, I'm just not sure yet. But I totally think it's going to happen just based on how I think and like what I do day to day. It's totally going to happen.
Was there any external pressure from your parents themselves when you were gaming in your early years of high school to either stop or put time into other stuff, as they would either see it as unbeneficial or unproductive?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to a certain degree, they were right. Um, I've definitely missed out on quite a few opportunities based on me pursuing gaming. And as high school went on and classes got more intense, I had sports and jobs and stuff. The amount of hours that I was gaming definitely kind of came down naturally because of that. But again, there was also this external pressure from my parents. Um but I think senior year is kind of a good example for me because that's really when my, excuse me, content creation and reviews, gaming, all this other stuff kind of took off. Was like, middle of junior year and then through the summer into like senior year and then the summer of senior year. Um, uh, it just kind of exploded. And junior year, I was the busiest I've ever been. I was extremely depressed. I just didn't have time for gaming. It was kind of miserable trying to keep up with the growing following I had, and then like school and sports. And then a shitty relationship. It was rough. Senior year, I didn't really have that shitty relationship. I got out of it, thank God. Um, and I wasn't doing sports anymore. I was just lifting at the time. I was preparing for a power lifting competition, and I just had all this free time with my courses. I had much easier courses senior year. I got all the hard stuff out of the way, and I was able to put a lot more time into like gaming and content creation. And uh, that definitely did not go over well with my parents. But I think ultimately, where I am right now is exactly where I want to be. As I said, I've definitely missed out on a couple opportunities, but where I have lost, certain opportunities for maybe a certain college or something like that. I've gotten in, say the college I'm at right now. So I mean, it's just kind of how you look at it, but I'm of the believer that everything kind of works out how it's supposed to. So I think despite the external pressure from my parents, I've kind of ended up where I want to be, and I'm extremely happy with how far I've come.
Did you ever feel like you had to prove yourself to your parents when it comes to content creation, as say, like showing them how much you've made or how big of a following you've gained?
I don't think I ever had a pressure in terms of, I guess, like proving to them that it was like worth the time and stuff. But I always shared like when I started like when I was monetized on YouTube, and I mean I still am, but when I first got that, and then like things kind of started coming in, and it was these small, you know YouTube paychecks. When that started coming in, that was all great. Um, but then when it came to like affiliations and stuff, definitely also really profitable. And so between, doing really, really well at school, my parents kind of got off my back a little bit more because, I was healthy. I was doing this weightlifting, competition prep. I was, acing all my courses in school. I had applied to all these great colleges and I was getting many acceptances from them. So a lot of that kind of external academic pressure from my parents was gone. But then, I was working good hours at a job, making a decent, like, part-time income. And then at the exact same time, this other hobby of mine of, reviews and content creation is starting to take off. I'm starting to see like revenue. I'm starting to see, profits. And so the sunk hours that I've put into, I'm starting to see the payoff. And even now, like while I'm at college, like I'm still continuing to like see some of the benefits and the revenue of, all the hours that I've put into previously. And so I don't think there was a pressure in terms of like proving to them that it was worth it, but it was more so proving to them that like I had good time management and was able to achieve everything I wanted to, while still being able to like pursue certain hobbies.
How much of your identity was tied to being a high level gamer, and how much did it, how much did stepping away from it challenge or change your, sa- your, sa- your sense of self? Sorry.
No, you're good. I don't think I ever like tied myself to being uh like that good or like a high level gamer. I definitely kind of marketed myself that way, but I don't think I ever believed that truly. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of all Twitter is just how well are you able to kind of market yourself. And Brusky has, the Apex player, has
Yeah.
been such a key dude in all my growth. Like I can contribute like I want to say a good like 60% of my growth throughout the years to him alone, and to all the things that he's taught me. Um, he's just such a great guy. But uh, I think when I stepped away, I think it was just harder to. I think it was to step away from like, hey, I'm suddenly, I'm kind of set. How do I want to explain this? I had trouble stepping away from the high level gaming because of the friends that I made. Um, I, have made such great friends, and it was really, really difficult to step away. But at the same time, I had a lot of, I've a lot of great, like, real life friends and a lot of things going for me there. So I think losing friends or stepping away from friends a little bit more was a little bit less of a concern or a worry for me. And I never feel like I missed out gaming at a high level because I was never there. I mean, I have 132 hours in Kovacs across 7 years. Uh, like I don't, I'm, I market myself as an aim nerd, but like I'm kind of terrible. Um, I'm definitely better than the average gamer, and there are times where like I'll be playing with people that, are way more talented than I am, and I'm still able to beat them and outperform them and stuff. But I never, it was like sort of imposter syndrome where I never felt like I was at the level of anyone else around me. But that kind of pushed me to do harder and work better. And definitely losing that motivator when I stepped away from high level gaming was something that I noticed, but then I immediately kind of filled that hole of not being around better people by surrounding myself with like more successful people around me in college and, surrounding myself with the friends that I'm building a business with now. So, and, developing an app for. So, uh, you know, I, I definitely lost a lot, maybe not in terms of sense of self, but I lost a lot of like key, quality aspects of my life that I've had to since fill in, but it made me realize, how much I have gained and has helped me appreciate a lot more, what I got from gaming and like the Twitter space as a whole. But I never feel like I lost myself because um, when as I said, I was able to fill those gaps where I might have lost something, but then also uh, I just never tied myself personally to how I marketed myself online. To me, those are two completely different people. I've had a lot of people tell me that, what I put on Twitter and how I'm, the personality and stuff that I put on Twitter is way different than when I'm just gaming normally and I'm a lot more relaxed. And it's like, yeah, I just, that's how you make money. That you just have to market yourself, uh, and so I'm still the same person, So I think in that sense, when I stepped away, I didn't really lose a sense of myself because I think the online persona on Twitter or X was its own thing, and who I was in game and behind the screen has remained the same. And my close friends like Memoir, aka Yurio, or Mint, Tech, like JQ, like all these guys, like Snacks, like anyone, like nothing's changed. So I I think that's kind of how I would sum it up.
I was surprised at the difference between you on Twitter and you on stream. You're like a completely different person. I was like expecting a much more like energetic and like excited personality than like you showed on stream. I'm like, this person's actually really enjoyable to spend time around and to watch and like just talk with.
Yeah, I think part of that actually comes from my personality in real life, who I am behind closed doors or on stream, where there's a lot less of and right now as well, where there's a lot less of uh, a character that I'm trying to play. Um, I think that's super different than what I am on Twitter, because you know, I could probably try and find it, but all those years ago when I was playing Apex, like with Brusky, he was like, you kind of have to have a creator, and I think with Brusky, I don't want to speak on him too much, but I mean, I've interacted and been friends with him for a minute, but I totally think like his personality on Twitter is like a definite reflection of kind of who he is as a person. But I always try to keep that separate, and part of that is due to my background in finance. Uh, I have to be ever since I was 14. I've been in professional workplaces within finance, and I can't be myself. That was a very hard lesson for me that I learned this year, which I might touch on later. But ever since I was little, I've always had to be very professional. Within finance and like just in real life, I've always had to be very professional, and so I've kind of had to develop this like I guess facade of how I present myself to other people, and then behind closed doors, it's completely different. And a lot of people think that's pretty fake, but I mean, I think it's really important that you know how to distinguish yourself between your environments and assimilate. But then also, I think it's really important that you know who you are, and you know that kind of at the end of the day, you're maybe not the most genuine, but I think there's a time and place for everything. Um, Recently, in my recent year of college, you know, I felt a little weird, because suddenly I was, at this age where I was going into a professional environment, and I was kind of at an age where I felt like I could be a little bit more of myself. And that ended up actually causing a lot of personality clashes because I wasn't this finance douche. I was just kind of a nerd who like went to the gym, was working on this business with friends, and then just showed up to the professional this like professional setting, and people didn't really like that. And that's kind of to all them, like I, I'm a chill guy, but I've definitely like fuck, I hate the word, but like quirky, like I've definitely I'm definitely like not the most normal guy, and I was trying to be a little bit more myself around this new group of people, and it just sort of backfired. It definitely closed a lot of doors, but at the same time, it kind of opened different ones with other people, and it's kind of made me realize the lesson of like, well, damn, like I kind of have to be this like lame black and white like finance douche if I want to be successful. Like the idea of being like I guess like who I am right now is just not a thing. If I was I had an interview with KPMG not too long ago, and I wouldn't be talking casually like this. You have to be so professional, all these other things, but uh, no, it's who I am. I think on Twitter, on stream, in Discord, in a professional workplace, and in real life, and at home. Each one is different, and I think it's really important to be able to, again, kind of sell yourself in different ways, be able to tailor yourself to your environment, but then also just kind of know who you are as a person and when and where to kind of bring that out. Because, as I said, I learned the hard way that, like, some it's also some industries as well, like finance, you really have to do conform. Uh, there's a very large pressure to do that. But you just you live and you learn and you gain the experience, and even when things don't work out, like, you kind of figure out, I need to be acting like this, I need to do this, etc., etc.
I feel like for me at least, and where I'm located and what school I go to for high school, you almost have to put on a fake persona of what people see you as or what you should be, which is very cookie cutter depending on like the stereotypical personalities of what you fit into. You basically have to conform to those in a public setting. And I've always seen it as when you go to college, you can finally express yourself freely, and you bring up that no, it's still you have to put on those different fake personalities and show yourself as being, like you said, a black and white person. Do you think there'll ever be a point where you can be truly yourself in front of your peers or in front of your friends?
Yeah, I think that time will definitely come, and I think in high school, you're not really going to make the lifelong friends. That's my experience. I've made great friends there, but not really the lifelong kind. um there were guys I would, they're my ride or dies, right? I haven't talked to them since graduation. uh and part of that, again, is sort of the idea of the conformity and the cookie cutter. But that now in college, when I was more sort of talking about the conformity and sticking to that cookie cutter black and white, I was more specifically talking about this one really specific professional environment. Otherwise, like, I'm still me. Um, uh, and that's something I've tried to embrace a lot more while going to college, because, again, being yourself, that's where you're gonna find the lifelong friends. You're gonna meet the guys who, came from the other side of the country. And you're gonna still keep in touch. You're gonna My case, like, I've been myself, and I've met, three great guys as well as a great mentor who, we're all trying to build a business together. And um I think, had I not been myself, I probably wouldn't have made those same connections. um I'm a lot more reserved when talking about personal interests and other things. But then around two of these guys, when I first met them in class, we were instantly talking about, like, everything from Rust to F1 to going to the gym and all these other things. And I think, had I been a little bit more reserved, I never would have made such good connections with them, like, right away. And so, and again, that's kind of where my error with the professional set, like finance setting, where I was more myself. That's kind of where that error came from. Was in the rest of my life now, when college, I am being a lot more myself. Uh, and uh I that kind of bled into the professional setting when it shouldn't have. And now I've learned that lesson, and it won't happen again. But I think it just depends. It depends on how well I know a person. And I think there will be a time, though, whether it's sorry whether it's in college or the professional workplace, there will be a time where I can be more of myself. I But I think that time is gonna have to, like, wait for now, to a certain degree, because we the society that we live in, it's so, like, cookie cutter based. And there are stereotypes for a reason. And the idea of, like, conformity and all those other things, like, it kind of exists for a reason, in the sense of certain stereotypes. Like, I'm thinking, like, finance, like, you kind of have to conform to that in order to, like, be successful, and then that is reflected in the rest of society, whatever, whatever. I think after a professional career, or maybe during a professional career with close friends and stuff, that'll come out. But I've seen it with my parents. I've seen it with other friends. Like who we are, one place is completely different than the other, and I think that's just how it's going to be for a very, very long time. I think it'll be a good couple of years before I'm able to uh, kind of let that personality bleed into other things. Um, and I think part of that comes from my current relationship with my girlfriend. She's definitely been a huge positive reinforcement for just being myself. Um, because when I was in a shitty, like long term relationship previously, could never be myself. The idea of gaming and content creation, my ex had no idea I was doing any of that stuff. Current girlfriend knows, like, oh shit, I was doing that, and oh shit, I like was successful from it. So uh I with my ex, I literally had to lie about where this just money was coming from. I didn't have a job at the time. I was rowing full time. uh I just had to like lie about where the affiliation money was coming from. uh and and then again there's all these other things, but uh I think it's all about who you surround yourself with, and the kind of environment that you're in.
Yeah, I've always joked that like me quote unquote finding a girlfriend would be impossible just based off of like what I enjoy. But I found that once I've met the girl that I'm with right now, that because of what I'm doing and because of who I am as a real person, that makes me unique and someone interesting to talk to. So I'm not forced to hide what I do with my time or like what I'm interested in at all. So it's definitely like a self realization moment that I can be accepted for who I am.
Absolutely. And I think that's like the beauty of relationships as well, is like um that's the person that you want in your corner. That's the person that you want supporting you. And again, that's why with family and with friends and with my girlfriend, I act a certain way with everyone. I'm probably the most genuine with my girlfriend, but even like with my parents, siblings, or other family members, like still kind of have to fit the idea of what I am to them. Uh, just because I don't know, some certain family members are freaks, but um, no, I mean it's kind of crazy what a good relationship can do for you. It's definitely life changing, and that's someone you definitely want to hold on to as well. The people you can be around and be yourself, those are the people that you really want to be around.
Was there any specific moment in the past few years where you realized that you wanted to step away from gaming in general, or was it a gradual realization as your time and interest changed?
I would say much more of a gradual interest. Um, it started out. I guess I should start with a context. I got my PC 6 years ago now, and I got it as a like a partial Christmas Christmas gift, as well as like I paid for a good chunk of it myself. And it's the shitty iBuy Power pre-built, and it has been degrading significantly throughout the years. Even just 3 years ago, significant performance drops. And it just kind of got worse and worse from there. And so, with the limited time that I had due to other activities and all these other things I had committed to, I just had limited time to game, and then my computer was starting to degrade, and was just getting worse and worse over time. I would crash all the time. Like, I mean, parts were breaking. Like, it's kind of miserable. And so that also kind of resulted in a decrease of playing time. And then once I got into reviewing, and I had the camera gear, I had the lighting gear, and you don't need a good PC to review uh, and do content creation, such as what I did. So once I kind of made that realization where it's like, okay, I don't have to rely on my PC anymore, and I can just like stream. That's why I never really stream. Uh, just my PC is it's just miserable to play on and all that stuff, and I'm on the same PC now, and so like that's why I don't really play FPS anymore. Uh, every once in a while, I'll boot something up, but half the time my PC crashes within the first 30 minutes or anything like that, and so I think that's been one of the key drivers in me becoming less motivated and stepping away. But definitely like gradually over time, whereas I kind of realized like, yeah, this is just something that like not really much benefit from gaming specifically. Just wasn't really seeing the benefit from it anymore. And I would much rather pursue something else. I would much rather, I don't know, pour my time, money into a different hobby or just kind of step away entirely and just kind of move on to the next stage in my life because to a certain degree, you lose a lot of time gaming, and it can be a positive thing to relax, but it can also be like a negative thing. So uh I just think the PC degradation over the last few years has definitely been like a key reason for me kind of stepping away, and then just being so busy and just prioritizing other areas. It just the percentage of my prioritization just kind of lowered and lowered and lowered and lowered gradually through the years, to the point now where I get a random burst of motivation to try and game every once in a while, but otherwise I'd much rather I'd much rather just like, I don't know, do something with these peripherals. But then now,
Yeah.
like, the peripherals don't really mean much because I now have like all these mouse hats and stuff, and I can barely use them. Like my Kovacs doesn't run for crap anymore. Um, and most of the FPS games that I play now, like I can't even play Apex. I get like 20 frames. Uh,
Jesus.
I'm kind of forced to stick to things like Quake, where even then, like Quake, Quake Live, dude, I still get shitty performance on it. But yeah, uh, yeah, definitely gradual over the years. And if I had a good PC, I would immediately come back. Like I'm being so honest. I would immediately like that. Just it would solve so many issues for me. If I had a good PC, but that's not something that I want to invest the money into because why spend like $2,000 on like a really nice PC that'll last me a couple of years when I could invest it into, I mean, just various bonds, and make such a larger return. Like that's more of what I would rather do now. I'd rather just focus on like my triathlon training and let my money grow in various like savings or investment accounts, and just, I don't know, get really healthy again. Like I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at now.
If you could give advice to your younger self to continue currently, or if you could give advice to a younger self, or to someone currently facing the decision to continue or step away from high level gaming or pursue the topics or the ideas or the career that they want to, what would you say?
I would say take a really long time to reflect about what is important to you, and one of the best ways that I like to think about that is, when you die or when you have other people talk about you in the future, what are they going to say about you? And it can be a negative thing because you're only focused on other people, but it's a reflection of what you've done. um do you want to be remembered as someone who was, kind of a lazy piece of shit who just played video games all day? Or, with me now, do I want to be remembered as someone who was extremely successful in rowing and then went into like powerlifting very briefly, and then now is doing like triathlon training? Like I would much rather be remembered that way, and being remembered as like a healthful, like healthy, successful athlete uh, that is currently pursuing like finance and all these other things, opposed to someone who uh, was not able to make a career out of gaming. But that's not to say that you shouldn't try, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what I'm doing, just with something else. I'm trying to, get a good education and build a successful career from said education. I'm trying to continue, my photography, and continue to monetize that, and build that as a revenue stream. I'm trying to build an app right now, and these are just where my priorities are right now. But to kind of figure out that decision, it's okay. Where do you want to be in a couple of years? What are the steps that you have to do to achieve that? Can you scale? Are you so passionate that you can scale gaming, or content creation? Can you scale that to a point where it's worth your while? Because for me right now, I'm about to step into my 20s. College and 20s are some of the most key years in your life. A lot of people will kind of say, all right, they're just another few years, I can waste them and then I'll get serious in my late 20s, 30s. But they're also such foundational years that I would rather put in a lot of the hard work now to reap the benefits in the future. And if you believe that that hard work is better spent gaming, because you are, on a professional path, and you can truly see that it's worth your time and effort, both financially and happiness wise, and self fulfillment wise. Absolutely, continue to pursue that, but just don't lose sight of, I think, the bigger picture, and the fact that what you do with your time is incredibly important, and that there is no harm in choosing to step away and pursue something else that you feel is better for you. What's better for me is not going to be better for someone else. And it all depends on where you see yourself. And I am also a strong believer that things are going to work out how they're meant to. I don't think, I'm not like, I don't believe in like destiny or anything like that, but I just think that if you spend your time doing something, the results are going to be what was meant to happen. So if I put all these hours into finance and all these other things, and it just doesn't work out, and it's like, man, maybe I should have, and I end up coming back to gaming or content creation, and that works out great, but if nothing works out, then, it just wasn't for me. But the number one thing I would suggest is just think about how you want to how you want to what you want to do with your life. And that's more difficult, harder things. But I think when you're younger, there is no harm in trying to have a little bit of fun playing video games at a high level, but just don't dedicate your entire life to something that is not going to uh, help you be successful. you know, there's not a lot of skills that can come from just straight gaming by itself. I think there has to be something supplemental to that that will help you develop the useful skills that will be used in a workplace, that will be used, professionally, et cetera, et cetera. I think it all just kind of depends.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on today and wanting to talk and just going through this interview.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on here. It's a huge honor. I'm not really in the space anymore, and so to have you reaching out while you're doing all these great projects, it's so cool. Really, really happy to have done this.